Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the podcast that I, your host, David Woodruff, lovingly call the Woodruff Report. So, before I begin the introduction to this episode, a few quick housekeeping devices. First of all, Woodruff Report is now on iTunes, so check it out, send me feedback, tell me if it's easy to get to, hard to get to, if you're able to navigate the page, but it should be up. You should be able to search iTunes for Woodruff Report and be able to stream the episodes just like you normally would from my website. Also, the Woodruff Report YouTube channel is going to be up and running soon. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the YouTube channel. Is it just going to be these podcasts with a still photo behind it, or is it actually going to be a vlog style screen of my face? You can see my beautiful face for the first time with me talking and doing movements and segments like that. So still trying to figure that out, but the Woodruff Report YouTube channel is up and running. Again, send me feedback. Is it hard to navigate? Is the logo dumb looking? Is there something about the channel that needs fixing? Any stuff like that, give it to me. Obviously, I'm a newbie at this, so any feedback I am very grateful for. So a quick little housekeeping, iTunes and YouTube channel. Other than that, Woodruff Report is alive and well and coming at you again on a weekly basis with everything that is new and interesting in the world of sports. So, I appreciate you bearing with me for that. Let's start the show as normal. And this week, you've got the post-Super Bowl hangover, no more football. Can you believe it? It had become such an integral part of your life. I know it had become such an integral part of my life. No college football, no professional football. What am I going to do? I'm just going to sit on the couch and cry on Saturdays and Sundays. So football season is over. You've got the NBA going into the All-Star break. The last few games are finishing up. The NHL is in full swing, but apologies to my hockey fans out there. I'm just not very knowledgeable on that subject, so you will not hear much hockey talked on the Woodruff Report. I mean, if my hometown San Jose Sharks won the NHL championship, I might try to string together the lingo and awkwardly prance my way through an NHL podcast. But barring disaster, I probably will not be talking much NHL on this show. Baseball, pitchers and catchers have reported, but again, spring training has not started, much less the regular season. So it's kind of a lonely sports time of the year. Not much going on. You've got college basketball, though, in full swing. Teams are starting to tune up for March Madness. Quick side note on the college basketball season. What an unpredictable year it has been. You've got about 103 teams that have been ranked number one at some point. You don't have the heavy favorite, as you've had in recent years with Kentucky going undefeated, or North Carolina being better than everybody else, or Duke being better than everybody else. What an evenly matched year. And honestly, this is going to be an extremely entertaining March Madness, because all the time this year, any team has looked like they can beat anybody else on any given day. And that's what we love about college basketball. I mean, you have St. John's University, who lose their first 11 games, but then beat number 12 Duke and then top 5 ranked Villanova in back-to-back games. I mean, that's the kind of college basketball season that we've had so far. You can't even take for granted an 0-11 St. John's basketball team going to play a Mike Krzyzewski coached Duke team. You just can't take anything for granted, and it's going to be quite a March Madness. And then, besides college basketball, you've also got Champions League soccer, and you've got Premier League soccer. All the leagues are sort of winding down the tail end of the season. Those are bound to get very, very interesting. We had the first leg of 4 of our 8 round of 16 Champions League soccer games, and that is what the main focus of this Woodruff Report is going to be about. You had Juventus Tottenham, Manchester City versus Basel, Liverpool versus Porto, and the big one, the Galacticos Real Madrid facing the new look Paris Saint-Germain side. So I'll give you a recap of all those games. I also wanted to do a quick thought exercise. I've been thinking about this for a while now, and I think it'd be a kind of cool introduction to soccer that would make it more interesting, and it is an NHL-style power play in soccer. So I'll talk about that, do a quick thought exercise, as I so often do on this podcast. So we've got a soccer-heavy podcast coming at you, Champions League, and then a new look way to play soccer coming at you on Woodruff Report. I'm your host, David Woodruff. Let's get into it, starting in 3, 2, 1. Champions League round of 16, the best of the best. These are the best teams in Europe going off head-to-head. If you don't like this, you don't like soccer, and we had some dandies. We had Juventus, Tottenham, and PSG Real Madrid headliners, and the other games were also very good. We had Manchester City going to Switzerland to play Basel, always tough to play an away Champions League game, and then you had Liverpool going to Portugal to play the very good Porto side. So 4 very good games, and let's start in Italy, where Juventus hosted English side Tottenham, led by Harry Kane, Dele Alli, Son, and a very high-powered offense with a good defense. And then, of course, you've got the Italian giants Juve, Gonzalo Higuain, Mario Mandzukic, Dybala, that strong center-back Chiellini, the ageless Buffon in net. It was going to be a great game. You've got European stars going head-to-head. I can't wait. I'm sure no one else could wait. And it didn't take long for this match to get very interesting. A couple minutes into the game, Juventus strikes first. Gonzalo Higuain puts it in the back of the net. Disaster for Tottenham, 1-0. And for Tottenham fans, this has to be history repeating itself. Of course, Tottenham is the laughingstock often of the Premier League. They never get it done in the big stage games. They always finish behind crosstown rivals Arsenal, and then when they play in those big UEFA Champions League games, they always seem to choke. So is it going to be more of the same, even though this Tottenham team has been remarkably consistent while Mauricio Pochettino has been in charge? And it gets even worse for Spurs as they go 2-0 down. Higuain converts a penalty, putting it just past French stopper Hugo Lloris. It's 2-0 Tottenham. We have not even played 10 minutes. And Tottenham are like, what are we going to do here? Because now we're in this hostile environment in Italy, playing one of Europe's best teams, renowned for not giving up goals, and now we're going to have to play an attacking style to get back in this match, leaving us vulnerable on the break to go down even more goals. So Pochettino is sitting on the sideline, biting his nails. What am I going to do? How is my team going to respond? Luckily for Spurs fans, this is no usual Tottenham team, and talisman Harry Kane pulled one back for Spurs, slotting a through ball past the ageless wonder Gianluigi Buffon to make it 2-1. The left-footed little trickler into the bottom right corner of the net. He rounded Buffon and then put it into the open net. 2-1, and now Tottenham not only have an away goal, but are down 2-1 and within striking distance to tie this game up. And remember, this is Champions League. So a 2-2 draw for the away team in the first leg of a tie is a terrific result. Not only are you not down any goals, but you have the 2 away goals. So a 0-0 tie is enough for you to progress, a 1-1 tie is enough for you to progress, and any type of win is enough for you to progress. And when you're playing a team like Juventus, when you have that many options to get past them, you know you're doing something right. But near the very end of the half in stoppage time, Juventus are awarded another penalty. Gonzalo Higuain steps up with a chance for a first-half hat trick, blasts it right down the middle, and it smacks off the crossbar, careening about 6 million feet up into the air, out of the stadium and back down. The ref blows the whistle. It's halftime. Tottenham are lucky to not be 3-1 down. They're 2-1 down heading into the dressing room. And Pochettino looks at his Spurs and he says, "We've come all the way to Italy. We might as well try to get this 2-2 draw. I mean, what do we have to lose? We are not expected to win this tie. We're a good side, but Juventus is maybe a favorite to win the whole thing." And Tottenham came out and played very well in the second half. They had 67% possession in this match, which is very impressive. Even for a Spurs team renowned for keeping the ball, this was impressive against one of Europe's elite, and it really offered the question, are Spurs good enough to go and win the whole thing? And they proved that they're always a threat. Christian Eriksen with a wonderful free kick. Buffon might have done better to save it, but when you've played however long he's played at such a high level, you've got to give him a break now and then. Eriksen pummels a kick from the edge of the box into the bottom left corner. It's 2-2. They've clawed their way back from what looked like it was going to be disaster at the beginning of the game to a terrific result. The Spurs fans are in full voice. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Spurs. It's 2-2, and that's the way the match would end. Juventus has some work to do when they travel to Wembley Stadium, and they're going to need to score. Tottenham are going to be able to sit back and play on the break. They might play that 3-5-2 formation with Dele Alli and Harry Kane up front. They have plenty of options. They're not going to have to attack a lot. They're going to have to absorb Juventus's pressure and then come at them on the break. For Juventus, the keys to the game are going to be getting the ball into their target man, Higuain. Now, when Juventus looked most threatening in this game is when they would play through the middle, maybe out wide, and then into the terrific Argentinian target man Higuain, who was able to turn his man and then hit it out the other way on a quick switch. That's when they looked very threatening. That's how they scored quickly in the first 10 minutes of the match, and that's how they got their chances in the second half. So I really think, now it sort of goes against normal thinking. Spurs are such a good team in the midfield, you want to play out wide. But really, Juventus should play up the middle. That's the way they're going to score. That's the way they're most threatening. And if we're going to be perfectly honest, Mandzukic isn't exactly the player you want running at players on the edge. And they're probably going to have to make a change. Maybe put Douglas Costa up on the wing. He's terrific with the ball at his feet, whipping in balls. And you want Mandzukic in the penalty area. You want a big guy in there who can power headers in. So that's going to be the strategy for Juventus. Play through the middle, get the ball out wide to Douglas Costa, let him swing balls in for Mandzukic, Higuain, and the rest of the crew, maybe Chiellini if he gets up for an attack. For Tottenham, in the second leg, it's going to be absorb pressure and catch him on the break. Get the ball to Harry Kane, and you know he's not going to miss, even with Buffon in goal. So 2-2, the game finishes in Turin. A great result for Tottenham, not a great result for Juventus, but of course, anything can happen in leg 2. Transitioning, the incredible Manchester City traveled to Switzerland to play their round of 16 game. And if there were any doubts about Manchester City converting their league form, which has been unbelievable, they've had only one loss the entire season in the always tough Barclays Premier League, transitioning that success into the UEFA Champions League, that was quickly squashed. A Gundogan header made it 1-0, and they never looked back, winning this tie 4-0 in dominating fashion. Basel had a few chances, but Manchester City looked in complete control. Aguero scored an incredible goal, and De Bruyne looked dangerous. He started out wide, but was able to get the ball in threatening positions and thread balls through. Basel, arguably the weakest side remaining in the Champions League. So again, not an incredible test for Manchester City, but still, the way they were able to just pummel them was impressive. 4-0, this tie is all but over. Basel should just play the kids, let them have a chance to see what Champions League football is like in the second leg when they travel to the Etihad. Manchester City should also play the kids. This tie is as good as over. The chances of Basel winning 5-0 are about 1 in bazillion. Or I guess the chance of Switzerland joining World War III. So 4-0 Manchester City. Pep Guardiola has turned City around, and they look very threatening. Both Tottenham and City look very good going forward, and it's bucking the traditional English teams can't get it done in the Champions League. Well, English teams have been getting it done. And that's a perfect segue into Liverpool traveling to Portugal, the Estadio Dragão, to play Porto. And they ran rampant on a good Porto side. 5-0 the final score. Salah was amazing. Mane looked threatening. Firmino was great. This was it was incredible. When Liverpool plays well, they are maybe the best team in England, if not the best team in Europe, and they can compete with anybody. Even Real Madrid and Barcelona, they can compete. When that front three, Firmino, Salah, and Mane, are making plays using that speed and movement, no back four can guard them. And Porto was outmatched throughout this game. I mean, Liverpool scored early, they scored medium, they scored long, they scored late, they scored midway through the half, they scored basically any possible time you were allowed to score in a soccer game. And they were running rampant. Porto had no answers, they didn't really have any chances. They actually had the first major chance of this game, saved by Karius in goal, and then Liverpool just took control. So 5-0. Liverpool have this in the bag. They probably will not play any of their big names when the tie heads back to Anfield for leg 2. This is in the books. And 3 English teams with a very good chance of moving on: Tottenham, Manchester City, and Liverpool. So that brings us to the final game of the first round of 16, Real Madrid PSG. Without a doubt the best of the lot, 2 of Europe's best. You've got PSG, Mbappe, Cavani, and Neymar up front going against Cristiano, Benzema, Bale, Toni Kroos, Luka Modric, and all the firepower that Real Madrid has. Again, Real Madrid has looked terrible in La Liga. They've lost a lot of games. There's talk of a crisis. But they were able to turn it on in this game. But not without an incredible battle. PSG looked very good. Neymar looked flashy with the ball. He was driving at players, beating them, setting chances up, and he sets up the first goal to Rabiot with a probably unintentional back heel, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt because he is so good. A cross comes in. It's backheeled by Neymar. Rabiot finishes past Keylor Navas, 1-0 PSG. And this PSG side looked like world beaters. They've got a great backline anchored by Thiago Silva. They've got a very good midfield with Verratti and Rabiot in there. And then they've got that incredible front three. This team has an incredibly high payroll, but they're also incredibly good. And pundits are, of course, going to bring up the maybe PSG just wasn't ready for the intensity of the Champions League because of Ligue 1, the French league's competition. They're playing teams like Sochaux and Saint-Etienne. These teams are nowhere near what English teams are playing. Even those bottom of the table English teams, West Brom, Swansea, are very good. They put up a very good fight. They may not have the star power, but they play compact, they play physical, and the players are very capable. Compared to maybe a Dijon team at the bottom of the French league, PSG runs rampant all over them. They're winning 8-0. And even PSG players acknowledged before the game, this is not like a regular league game. We're going to have to step it up. But it's not easy to play league games for 3 months and then have to suddenly step it up. You don't want to have to do that. And PSG, as soon as things started to go wrong, it really went wrong, and they didn't seem to be able to quell the pressure because they're just not used to having to play teams that have the kind of ability that a Real Madrid has. And of course, Real Madrid is a bad example too. They may be the best team in the world. But still, PSG, if they want to make these huge investments and attract stars like Neymar, they have to be successful in the Champions League, and they have to get past the round of 16, which is where they have been tripped up in recent years. So, Real Madrid is able to level the score through a Cristiano Ronaldo penalty. He goes low and to the left, just beating the PSG keeper. And then Ronaldo scores in the second half in the 83rd minute, I believe, off a cross that comes in. The goalie tries to parry it, and it sort of unwittingly bounces off Ronaldo's thigh and loops into the goal. PSG players can only watch. And it gets even worse as a Marcelo goal makes it 3-1. 2-1 was a good result for PSG going into the Santiago Bernabeu and being down only one goal with an away goal. That was a positive result. But now being down 3-1, they're really going to have to attack when this tie transitions back to the Parc des Princes in Paris. And they're going to have to go at Real Madrid, who are going to be able to soak up pressure, similar to what I was talking about with Tottenham, even more so. And Real Madrid is going to have chances on the break. And this Real Madrid team, you do not want them to have multiple chances in front of goal, because chances are they're going to convert them. The star power is just too good. I mean, even if the ball falls to like a Marcelo or a Sergio Ramos, a center back or a outside back you'd traditionally not want to have the ball shooting in front of goal, these guys are going to bury it because they're just that good. So PSG is in real trouble, and Real Madrid is in great position to knock off a very good PSG side. And the Champions League is really a way for Real Madrid to save their season because their domestic form has been so poor. They're sitting in 4th place currently behind the likes of Valencia. So this is a chance for them to have a successful season, to win their 3rd consecutive Champions League. So those were the 4 ties. Juventus and Tottenham drew 2-2. Manchester City took care of Basel 4-0. Liverpool took care of Porto 5-0. And Real Madrid beat PSG 3-1. We've still got some mouth-watering ties next week, including Chelsea versus Barcelona. That's going to be an incredible game. That's going to be an incredible tie, as Chelsea, who similar to Real Madrid have not been good domestically, look to win the Champions League. You've also got Bayern Munich in action. You've got Shakhtar Donetsk and many other teams. So that's Champions League. Always interesting. Definitely tune in. Those games are very entertaining to watch. So, before I sign off for the day, I wanted to talk briefly about this idea I had, and it was sort of an epiphany that came to me while I was watching the Real Madrid PSG game. And that is, there should be power plays in soccer. Now, I don't know if this would be in all kinds of matches, both international and domestic, or maybe it would just be in competitions, in league competitions, or in the Champions League or the Europa League or something like that. But I was thinking that yellow card offenses would result in maybe a 1.5 to 2 minute power play where that player just had to sit on the sideline or something. And I think this would make the game very entertaining because the team with the numbers advantage would be able to drive and commit numbers forward and try to get the goal, while the other team had to kind of soak up pressure similar to hockey. And I think it would result in chances and a little more high-scoring games. Now, obviously, there are some things that would have to be ironed out, and I don't even know if this is practical. Like, would it just be for yellow cards, or would it be for a common foul? And would it sort of take the meaning of a red card away? And would referees be more reluctant to give a yellow card? But I still think it would be very interesting to have these power plays. I sort of am interested to see what managers would do with their team. Would they sort of not react to the numbers advantage, or would they really commit numbers forward like teams do in hockey, where power plays are so valuable and so many goals are scored off power plays in NHL games? I wonder if that would transition over to soccer or if it would not do anything. I also think that the power play would discourage sort of these fouls on like breakaway where the ball is won in the midfield and one team has a numbers advantage, so the other team sort of unfairly pulls the guy's shirt down saying, okay, I'll give up the yellow card in exchange for them not having a good chance to score. I think this power play might do something in discouraging that and making the game more entertaining, because as fans, we want to see teams breaking at pace with a numbers advantage. We don't I don't get pumped when someone pulls down a shirt committing a good foul. I'm not like, wow, that's really why I tuned in early at 6 a.m. on this Saturday to watch a West Brom player slide tackle a Liverpool player from behind to prevent them going on the break. That's what I tuned in for. I come on to see, I turn on the TV to see goals. I turn on the game to see high-pressure moments, goalies making great saves, the ball hitting the post, shots sailing just wide. That's the entertaining part of soccer. The entertaining part is not good fouls or good tactical decisions. And I'm hoping that maybe this power play would do something to discourage that. So just a thought exercise I'd been having, an epiphany that came to me while I was watching Real Madrid play PSG, the power play for yellow card offenses. So thank you again for tuning in to this episode of the Woodruff Report. On this episode, we talked about the UEFA Champions League first round of 16 games and talked about introducing a power play to soccer. Again, YouTube channel and iTunes, check in, send me feedback, all that jazz. We'll try to get those up and running and entertaining. So again, this has been the Woodruff Report. I'm your host, David Woodruff. Thank you so much for tuning in, and come by next week for the newest and best in the sports world. Thanks again.